Hi guys, welcome to your Slings for Sports home practice for those of you who may be missing the class throughout the 6 weeks. This is the course one, the first course of Slings for Sports that we're doing. For your home practice you may not have all the equipment that we use in class, but there are always alternatives. So we're using the myofascial release balls. For those ones, if you don't have these at home or a softer version of them, I would often use a pair of rolled up woolly socks. So the thickest woolly socks that you have at home, roll them up into a ball or two balls. Try to make them around about the same size so that you don't have one pair of socks that's thicker than the other. If you don't have that, you can use tennis balls. It's a little bit, I'm going to suggest that tennis balls will be a little bit too harsh for under your sacrum. So if it is only tennis balls that you have, again, wrap them up in something softer so that it's not quite as uncomfortable in your lower back whenever we come to that phase. We're also going to be using possibly two blocks. You can use, what I've used at home again is hardback books. If you've got two hardback books or anything that you can use just to place your hands on top of to give you a little bit more height. So anything that's lying around the house generally works. Even boxes, I've used boxes a few times as well. So find something that works for you. I think that's all in terms of equipment, so we're going to get started. We're going to start with our Pilates alignment, ankles and knees approximately a fist distance apart. You're going to think about that crown of the head lifting up towards the ceiling, allowing the shoulders just to relax. You're going to take a deep inhale in. And as you exhale, allow the arms to arc up towards the ceiling. We're going for a big circle, reaching the arms out to the sides and down to the hips. Let's go for two more like that. Exhale, arm arc up. And inhale, arms circle out to the sides and down. Two more. Exhale, arm arc up. Inhale, arms circle. Final one. Exhale, arm arc up. And inhale, arms circle. Just thought of another thing that you might want. So for any of the kneeling work that we're doing, if you want extra padding for under your knees, you might want to grab a second mat or a cushion or a pillow or something that you can double up and have underneath your knees. We're going to add in a releve to our arm arc. So as you lift your arms up and overhead, pressing down into the balls of the feet, really trying to keep those toes fully grounded. I realize that my head has been cut off here, but you don't need to see my head. And then we're going to reach the arms out to the sides and slowly lower the heels all the way back down. And we do that again. Exhale, arm arc up. And inhale, arms circle, lowering the heels with control all the way back down. We've got one final one. Exhale, arm arc those arms up towards the ceiling. I'm thinking about a gentle sense of lifting of the pelvic floor muscles. And as I reach my arms out to the sides and slowly lower them, I'm thinking about the crown of the head lifting up towards the ceiling. My heels lower at the same time as my arms come by my sides. We're going to take a deep inhale. As you exhale, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see my throat part. We're going to allow the chin to nod in towards the chest. And allow the shoulders to roll forward. The upper part of the spine, the middle part of the spine. I'm aiming to keep that uprightness of my pelvis. And what I mean by that is that I'm not letting my bum stick out. So I'm not going into a flat back position. I'm really rounding in that lower spine. As I roll my spine down, my arms are dangling, my head is dangling. I take an inhale at my bottom point, feel that deep stretch in my lower back because my lower abdominals are working so strongly. And then as I exhale, I'm going to start to roll all the way back up, bone by bone. Eventually the shoulders will arrive on top of the ribs, the head will arrive on top of the shoulders. When you're upright, we're going to take one of the balls just underneath one foot. You can choose which foot to go with. I'm going to go with my right foot. The ball does not want to coordinate today. There we go, or cooperate. So I'm going to place it underneath my toe joints and I'm going to roll from the toe joints all the way to the heel and then rolling it back in. As you're doing this movement, think about, can I elongate my spine? So are you hanging out into your hip, or can you really get the outside of your hip, the deltoid of your hip to lift up and you're really working it to support you in your one-legged balance position, because that's effectively what we're doing here as we're rolling out the foot. So I'm getting the full surface area of my foot. And then I'm going to let the arch of the foot come onto the ball. I'm going to roll my foot away from the center line so that I can take the outside edge of the foot down onto the mat and squishing the ball with the inside arch of my foot. I'm going to bring my other leg forward so that I've got my Pilates alignment again. And then I'm going to roll my ankle bone in towards the ball. So you're squishing the ball into the ground by rolling your ankle bone in, and then roll that ankle bone out. And we do that 2 more times, rolling it in and rolling it out. And one last one, rolling it in and rolling it out. You probably will be doing this with stocks. And then we're going to lift that the foot so that the arch of the foot is on the ball again, but this time you're going to roll the foot in towards the center of your body. So this time you're holding onto the ball with the outside edge of your foot, and then I want you to feel like you're sliding your foot off it. So you're sliding your foot towards the center of your body, coming off the ball, and we're going to do that again. You're going to have the arch of the foot resting on the ball or on the pair of socks, and you're going to slide your foot off, coming in towards the center. We're going to do that one last time. I'm going to rest the arch of the foot on the ball, and then I'm going to let that foot come in the way, and sliding the foot off, and then I'm going to go for a full foot rub out, full surface area of the sole of the foot rub out. I'm going to place that ball just in front to place the foot down onto the mat. Check in not only how that foot feels compared to the other, but also maybe how the backs of the legs, from the calf muscles to the hamstrings to the glutes to the lower back. Do you feel any difference there? Maybe even all the way up towards the shoulders. Are there any differences between right and left? We're going to go back to our arm arcs and releves, just checking in how that feels now that we've loosened out one side of our body. Exhale, arm arc up. Pressing down into the balls of the feet so that you're lifting the heels up, reaching the arms out to the side, lowering all the way back down. We've got one more of that. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, you're going to reach the arms up and overhead. And then inhale, stretching the arms out to the sides, lowering all the way back down. Let's go for another little roll down. Inhale to repair. As you exhale, the chin will nod in the direction of the chest. We're going to roll that spine down forward, letting the arms dangle, letting the head dangle. You can let your knees bend as deeply as you need to. This is not about touching your toes. This is about articulating the spine. So as I'm rolling down, my pubic bone is curling up. I'm trying to keep my pelvis upright for as long as possible. I take an inhale at my bottom point, and then as I exhale, I'm going to draw that belly in and up, stacking that spine bone by bone until eventually the shoulders arrive on top of the ribs, the head arrives on top of the shoulders, and then we're going to do the other foot. So I'm going to take that ball under my left foot this time. If you're mirroring me, this will be under your right foot now. We're going to rub out that whole surface area of your foot. And then eventually you're going to bring that ball just underneath the arch of the foot. Let's roll your foot away from the center of your body so that you can get the outside edge of your foot onto the mat. You're squishing the ball or the sock, so the inside edge of your foot, and you're going to go for a little roll of the ankle bone in, squishing that ball down, and then rolling it away. And we do that again. We roll it in, and we roll it out. We've got one final one. I feel like my ball's going to, yep, I lost it. I need to put my foot on it again. So we're going to roll that ankle bone in, and roll it out. And then we're going to take the ball, again, arch of the foot on the ball. This time you're going to roll it in towards the center of your body. I need to adjust my other leg so that I've still got my Pilates alignment. And then I'm going to slide my foot off that ball. So I'm just sliding and gliding it off. And then we place it on again. And you slide your foot towards the center of your body. And then inside edge of your foot is down. You glide the rest of your foot off the ball. And we do that one last time. This is specifically designed for the arches of your feet. We're not only releasing the fascia in that area, but we're also really working on the arches of the feet, which is exactly what you need for gait and for running, for walking and for running. We're going to place that ball just in front of you. Take those ankles about fist distance apart. And then as you exhale, we arc the arms up towards the ceiling, floating up onto the balls of the feet. We reach the arms out to the sides. We slowly lower the heels. It's decelerating as you go down until the arms and the heels arrive simultaneously. Exhale, arm arc up. Inhale, arms circle. Notice how your ankle bones wanting, or your heel bones wanting to swivel out to the sides. Do your ankle bones want to roll away from each other? You're keeping them in that same alignment. And whenever you get to the bottom, this time we're going to take ourselves to the very back of your mat with the runway of the mat in front of you. Actually, before we go there, let's go for one last little exercise here. So, sorry, come back to the center of your mat. We're going to make a fist. Let me mirror you guys this time. So if you take your right hand, you're going to make a fist with your right hand, and then you're going to flex at your wrist. So it's like you're trying to bring your knuckles to point towards your other arm. And then from there, you're going to let your elbow bend, keeping your elbow close into the side of your ribs. You're still staying flexed in that wrist, so it's quite a stretch for the front of the wrist and maybe even into the forearm. And then we're going to lift that elbow forward and up towards the ceiling. It's like you're trying to stretch your elbow up to the ceiling, but letting your shoulder drop down. And then you're going to let that reach of the elbow draw you into a side bend. So you're pressing the outside edge of your foot into the ground. The other hand inches down your leg, and then we're going to reach the arm up towards the ceiling. This is where I should have thought this through and made sure that you can see my whole body. I'm going to come down onto my knees so that you can see what's happening in my arm. So I'm reaching my arm up to the ceiling. I'm letting my shoulders sink down into the shoulder socket. And then if you do like a little, almost like a little window wipe, I think of like a submarine, the little thing that comes out at the top of the submarine and spins around to have a look around. That's what I think of when I'm doing this. So you're doing that with your wrist still flexed. You might feel quite a neurological pull down the side of your arm. And then we're going to release the fingers, stretch them up towards the ceiling. You're going to reach that arm away from you, down by the side of your body. Think about your ear listening to the ceiling so that you get a stretch in the side of the neck. Eventually that will draw your whole body into upright. You're going to bring your other arm, so that for you will be your left arm up towards the ceiling. You're side bending in the opposite direction. And then you come all the way back upright. Just feel that sense of rehydration, that tingling, that change of temperature, that even color difference between those two sides when you've done that. We're going to rebalance before we do the other side. So we're going to take an inhale. As you exhale, allow the chin to nod in towards the chest. We're going to roll that spine down and forward. Crown of the head leading the way down. I want to get that deep and strong lift of the pelvic floor muscles as I'm rolling down and forward. Taking an inhale when you reach the bottom point, wherever that is for you. As you exhale, you're going to draw the belly in and up and start to stack that spine all the way back up, bone by bone by bone by bone, until eventually the shoulders arrive on top of the ribs, the head arrives on top of the shoulders. We make a fist with the left hand. So clench that fist in. The thumb will be on the outside, so try not to let it squeeze in underneath. You want the thumb to be in the outside, and then you're going to flex the wrist. You're going to flex at the elbow, so bending that elbow in, lifting the elbow up towards the ceiling. You're going to let that elbow draw you into a side bend towards your right as you straighten your arm up towards the ceiling. I'm listening to the ceiling with my right ear. I'm going to, with my left ear for you guys. Think about a little curl of the pubic bone towards you. You're letting the shoulder sink down and away from the ear. And then go for that little submarine, like I'm spying from one side to the other with that hand. I know you can't actually see my hand this time, but hopefully you remember from the last side. And then eventually you're going to let the fingers reach towards the ceiling. Turn the palm to face away from your body. Reach the arm all the way down, but keep that left ear listening to the roof until you feel a stretch at the side of the neck that's going to tug you into a side bend in the opposite direction. You're just letting that side that we've just stretched out soften. You're rehydrating it. All the tissue, all the fascia on that side is being, all the water is rushing back into that. So you will feel a temperature change. You might even feel like that sensation of tingliness. We're going to bring the left arm down. We center ourselves. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, we're going to nod the chin in towards the chest. We're rolling back down. Inhale whenever you get to your bottom point. Exhale, draw up deeply until eventually the shoulders arrive, the head arrives, and you're in your tall position. I'm going to suggest that you bring the right side of your body to face towards the camera. So I'm going to come to the back of my mat with the right side of my body facing the camera. I'm going to take an inhale. We're going to go for another roll down. At the bottom of this roll down, we're going to add in a little bit of leg stretching for the hamstrings and for the lower back. So I nod the chin in towards the chest. I roll the spine down, bone by bone. The arms are dangling, the hands are facing in towards each other. This time I'm going to let my knees bend deeply enough that I can take my hands flat on the ground. So you want them flat. That means you'll have to let the knees bend really, really deeply. I want you to get the sensation that your pelvic floor muscles are now relaxed. You're going to drop your bum cheeks towards your feet, as low as you can go where you can keep your heels on the ground. That is important. And then we're going to lift the sits bones. So think about the middle part of your bum cheeks. You're going to lift them up towards the ceiling as the crown of the head drops towards the ground. And then we let the knees bend deeply. And we do that 2 more times. Lift the sits bones up to the ceiling as the crown of the head drops down. I'm going towards straight with my legs. I'm nowhere near straight, but I'm reaching, thinking, in my head I'm thinking of going towards straight with my legs. And then I bend the knees deeply. We go for one last one. Lift those sits bones up to the ceiling. Let the crown of the head drop. And then you're going to bend your knees really, really deeply so that you can walk your hands forward. Bring your knees onto the mat, where eventually your wrists will be under your shoulders, your knees will be under your hip bones. We want a neutral pelvis, neutral spine position here, our balanced pelvis. So just check in, are you tucked in your lower spine? Do you feel that you've got a little bit of pressure in your lower back? If so, can you maybe curl your tailbone under just a little? Imagine that you're balancing your gin and tonic. This is Friday for me, so a Friday gin and tonic on the back of your pelvis. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears, reach your breastbone forward, and then as you exhale, we're going to round from your tailbone, so your pelvic floor muscles, curl your pubic bone towards you, or towards your breastbone, and then you let the middle part of your spine round up, you let the upper part of your spine round, your crown of your head is dropping towards the ground. Keep those shoulders drawn away from the ears. See if you can get a little bit more roundness in the pelvis. And then we're going to shift the whole shape back. So I'm staying round as I press my hands down and forward. So I feel that stretch in my lower back as I go back. And then when I'm back there, on my next exhale, I'm going to lift the back of my tailbone, lift the back of my head. I'm coming into a flat back position. And from your flat back position, pull yourself forward back into all fours. We're going to do that again as you exhale, round. As you inhale, shift back. As you exhale, elongate that spine. And as you inhale, pull yourself forward. Think about 4 distinct movements. Exhale, round. Movement number 1. Inhale, shift back. Movement number 2. Breathing into that lower back so that you can feel the expansion and the stretch. And then movement number 3, stick the bum out behind you, let the back of the head lift, draw the shoulders down, reach the breastbone forward. Your gaze will be just to the front of your mat, and then you pull yourself forward. That is move number 4. We do that one more time. Exhale, round. Inhale to shift back. Exhale, elongate. Inhale to pull yourself forward. The next one will be a transition. I'm going to round my pelvis, my mid, my upper back, my head drops. I'm going to sit my bum back towards my heels. Because I'm so rounded in my lower back, because I'm using my abdominals so much, I can slide the hands back towards the knees and I roll myself up into a high kneeling position. From your high kneeling position, we're going to bring the right leg out in front of you. Think about allowing your right hand to be on the inside of your right knee, your left hand to be at the front of your left hip. Let me change my orientation to the camera so that you can see this. So and my hand is encouraging me not to let that knee drop in. You're just going to shift forward and back. So it's just shifting forward and back. And I'm using my front foot, so I'm using my right foot a lot to press myself back up. It's like I'm pushing down and back, down and forward with my heel, and that helps me to go back. So I'm falling forward and then I push myself back, falling forward, creating that elasticity around the front of the ankle, around the Achilles tendon also, creating that little bit of glide around that area. And then eventually, you're going to come forward, you're going to place your hands down to frame either side of your foot. For this stage of the class, if you want to use your blocks, please feel free. You're going to place them at either side of the front of your foot. I'll take mine away in a little minute so that you can see what's happening with my foot. But for the moment, use something that gets you high enough that you can reach your breastbone forward and reach your tailbone out in the opposite direction. So I'm trying not to be in this rounded position. I want to really think about elongating, bum cheek away from crown of the head, and then I'm going to shift forward and back. And the backward motion is going to be determined by how much you can keep your spine, your lower part of your spine straight. So as you're going back, if you feel that you're rounding, then you've gone too far. Think about reaching the bum cheek out so that you're really getting the hamstring at the back of the leg. We're flossing it. We're getting it stretched out in this position. As I go forward, I'm keeping my heels down. As I go back, I'm keeping my toes down. So I want my foot to be firmly planted the whole way through this. The next time that you go about halfway back, so you're going to shift about halfway, allow your forefoot to come off the mat. You want to get the sense that you're digging your heel down into the mat and pulling it towards you. And then at the same time, reach that bum cheek out behind you to the point where you can feel the stretch, not to the point where you feel like you're overstretching. So you want to feel work there, but you don't want to feel like it's uncomfortable almost pulling it. We're going to window wipe that leg from side to side. So I'm letting my foot move from side to side, letting my kneecap, letting my thigh bone. I'm trying to keep my pelvis fairly still. Let me again change my orientation to the camera so that you can see me. And window wiping from side to side. And as I'm doing this window wiping, in my head, what I'm always thinking about is, can I reach my bum cheek back more? And you'll feel the difference. So it's not about how far you can go, it's about those little changes in the pelvis that can really make all the difference to the stretch in your hamstring. We're going to place that foot down. Let your knee come forward so that your hamstring can relax completely. And then we're going to go back to that little shifting back and forward, just checking in with how that feels now compared to how it felt before. Excuse me. Alright, the next time that you go about halfway back, we're going to hold it halfway. You're going to round your spine, roll yourself up into this kind of 90-90 position. So you want to make sure that your ankle is under your knee and your back knee is under your hip bone, tailbone down, pubic bone up. You feel that lift in the spine, growing as tall as you possibly can. Arms down by the side of the body. We're going to exhale, arc the arms up towards the ceiling. Arms circle, reaching them down to your hips. We're adding on. As you exhale, you're going to arc the arms up. This time you're going to rotate towards your right side, opening your arms out to a T position. You're going to take the left hand to the outside of the right knee. The right hand will bend. So you want your elbow in line with your shoulder. Your palm is going to face in towards your chest, and there's a 90-degree angle at the bend in your elbow. This one, the less effort, the better. This is not about can I rotate as much as possible. I want you to think about lifting tall, and then you're pressing your left hand into the outside of the right knee, and that's going to spiral you back just a little. And then as you exhale and let go of that push, there's a little recoil. So I'm pushing my hand into the thigh and that spirals me back just a little. Actually, I'm thinking more lifting tall than turning to look behind me. So I'm just enough pressure that I turn a little and then I recoil as I exhale. We're going to go for 2 more. Inhale. And exhale, and keeping my shoulders nice and relaxed. And we've got one final one. We're going to rotate. And release and recoil. We're going to lift those arms up towards the ceiling. Let's do a little counter rotation to the other side. I'm going to change my orientation to the camera so that you can see me. So, excuse me, your arms are opened out to a T. This time you take your right hand to the inside of your right knee, the left hand to the front of your left pelvis. And you want to encourage that hip bone to open towards, open it to the left side a little bit more. And then you're going to let your whole pelvis and spine turn to face forward. And we go again, you're going to open out to the side, rotating your pelvis, rotating your breastbone, rotating your shoulders, and then everything rotates to face forward again. So your right hand is making sure that that right knee tracks over your second toe. Be conscious of that. It will want to roll in. So really trying to keep that in alignment with the hip and with the second toe. And then we go forward. We're going to go for 2 more. Rotate. And back in. The last one. Rotate it out. And then take it back forward. And then we're going to allow both arms to lift up towards the ceiling. I'm going to turn to face the same direction as you guys. Both arms reach up towards the ceiling. You're going to circle them around. You're going to take your right knee back in underneath you. Let's bring the hands back down onto the ground. We're going to go back into our little angry cat, angry cat, to see how the difference feels on both sides now. So you're rounding from your pelvis, the mid-spine, the upper spine, the crown of the head drops. We inhale as we shift back, taking the bum about halfway back towards the feet. How far back you go will be determined by how much you can keep that curl. If you lose that curl, you've gone too far. So you want that nice roundness in the lower back. And then we reach the bum cheeks out behind you, lift the back of the head, and we draw ourselves all the way forward. Let's go 1 more. Exhale, round. Inhale to shift back. Exhale, elongate. And then draw yourself forward. We're going to go from there. We're going to walk the hands a little bit further forward so that we're in a half plank position. So I'm going to drop my hips, not all the way to the ground. I don't want to feel this in my lower back. I want to feel enough engagement through my abdominals. I'm reaching my breastbone forward. We're going to curl the toes under. Press the heels back. Lift the bum up towards the ceiling. Your ankles and your knees should be about fist distance apart. You're going to push the ground forward, draw the shoulders down the back of the body, let the knees bend enough that you can stick your bum cheek up towards the ceiling. So rather than having a round back, think about letting your knees bend so that you can really have a straight, flat back. And then from there, pressing the heels towards the ground. Mine are nowhere near the ground, but I'm aiming towards getting them down there. We're going to round the lower back. You're going to roll yourself forward, the legs straighten as you roll yourself forward into a plank position. We're going to let one knee come down, the other knee comes down, you untuck the toes, sit the bum back towards the heels. Rest for a moment. If this feels uncomfortable for you, your other option could be to bring your hands further forward, rest your forehead towards the ground or onto a block or a pillow if that feels more comfortable, and just sticking the bum up towards the ceiling. So find somewhere where you can relax. You're going to take 2 breath cycles here. And one last breath cycle. And then rolling yourself back up. We're going to curl and round back up into your all fours position. Lengthening the sits bones out behind you, drawing the shoulders down, reaching the breastbone forward. Take an inhale as you exhale. You're going to round your lower back, your lower spine. We sit the bum back towards the heels and then let your hands slide back towards the knees, rounding through your spine so that you can bring yourself back up into an upright position. We've got the whole sequence to do on the other side. So we're going to let the left leg come out in front. So bring the left leg out in front of you. You want to have that sense of ankle under knee and back knee under hip. Curling the pubic bone towards you gently, lifting the spine up towards the ceiling. Taking the left hand to the inside of the left knee, right hand to the front of the right hip. And then you're just letting yourself fall forward and then press into the foot to push yourself back. This will not feel bouncy to start off with. For me, sometimes it still does not feel bouncy, so this takes a lot of training. This is something that we're going to work together with you guys to find this kind of bounciness eventually, so that it's not quite so muscular, that you do feel more that you're using your inner thighs, that you're using your pelvic floor muscles, that your fascia is being trained to do this elastic movement for you rather than using your muscles. We're going to allow the hands to come down to frame that front foot. Again, you can use your blocks if you prefer. And we're going to do that same or a similar kind of movement where you're shifting your hips back. Think about allowing your bum cheeks to stick out, or specifically your left bum cheek to reach out behind you, your breast going forward, and then we shift forward. So we're shifting back and forward. And the aim is not to go straight with that leg. The aim is that you're going back, but you're keeping your spine straight. So try not to, what's the word I'm thinking of? We're trying not to go all the way straight with the leg. So just your attention should be more focused on your spine than your leg. I'm keeping my toes down, I'm keeping my heels down. And then when you go back about halfway, this next time we're going to stay about halfway back. You can let your foot slide a little bit further forward if that feels more comfortable. You're going to let your forefoot come off the mat. I've just moved my butt blocks back a little so that you can see my foot. I'm going to lift my toes off the ground, and then I'm going to go for that little window out from side to side. For you guys, if you're using the blocks, they'll still be in the same place out in front of you. And you just window out from side to side. And then we add in the little twirl of the foot. I don't think I did that on the other side. If you do this more than once, do the twirl of your foot on the other side. So I'm going to go about 4 twirls in each direction. And then we're going to let the sole of the foot come back down. Slide it back in underneath you so that your knee is over your ankle. Roll yourself all the way back up into high kneeling. We're going to take an inhale. As you exhale, arc those arms up to the ceiling. Circle them out to the sides, down to your hips. We're going to add on. As you exhale, arc the arms up. We're going to rotate towards the left leg. Your right hand will come to the outside of your left leg. Your left arm is going to bend, palm facing in towards your body. Shoulders relax down. Notice, are you leaning forward? Can you let your shoulders be on top of your hips? Can you get that gentle sense of curling up of your pubic bone? And then you press the leg into the hand into the leg, and that spirals you towards your left a little, and then as you exhale, you recoil. Inhale, you're pressing into the hand, into the leg, and that spirals you back, and then you recoil. Let's go for 2 more. We're lifting tall as we spiral back. And gentle recoil. We've got one final one. We inhale and exhale, gentle recoil. Both of your hands lift up towards the ceiling. We circle them down to the side of the hips. We do a little rotation to the other side now. So exhale, arc up. Inhale, open the arms out to the T as you rotate towards your right side this time. You're going to take your left hand to the inside of your left knee, the right hand to the front of your right hip, and you're encouraging that hip to open out to the right side more, letting your whole pelvis, letting your whole spine turn towards the right side, and then a gentle little recoil to let your whole spine turn facing forward again. So we rotate the pelvis on the femur, your thigh bone stays still, and your pelvis is moving around it, which is basically what happens when we're walking or running, but we rarely do this kind of stretch. We're going to go for 2 more, opening that pelvis out to the side. I want to keep that length in my spine, and I'm rotating forward. We're going for one final one, rotate. And then we come all the way forward. We're going to let those arms lift up towards the ceiling. We lower them down by the side of the hips. You're going to bring that left leg back in underneath you. We're going to take the hands down onto the mat. Back into your all fours position. Take a deep inhale to prepare. As you exhale, round your lower back, middle back, upper back, letting the crown of the head drop. And then we're going to shift the pelvis back. Elongate from the tailbone all the way to the back of the head, and we shift forward. And we do that again, exhale round, noticing if you feel a little bit more balanced this time compared to what you did in your last one. We're going to elongate and shift all the way forward. Let's allow our toes to tuck under. I'm going to let my hands walk just a little bit further forward. I'm going to lift my knees off the ground just to hover, and then I'm going to lift the sits bones up to the ceiling, pressing the heels towards the ground. We're back in our upstretched position. Downward dog, letting those heels drop towards the ground, letting the sits bones lift up towards the ceiling, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Think about allowing your upper arm bones to rotate away from each other, allowing your lower arm bone to rotate in towards each other. The pelvic floor muscles are engaged, and then we do a big roll from your pelvis, curling under, straightening those legs up, pushing backwards with the heels, reaching forward with the breastbone into your plank front support position. And then we're going to let the knees come down onto the mat, untuck the toes, sit the bum all the way back into your rest position, whatever that rest position looked like for you. You can go wider with your knees. You can have your hands down along by the side of your body. You can do whatever feels good for you. We're going to take a deep inhale, excuse me, and a long slow exhale. And one more deep inhale. And exhale. Re-inhale. This time as you exhale, slide the hands back towards the knees as you roll yourself up into a high kneeling position. Once you're up in your high kneeling position, I'm going to suggest that you turn to face towards the camera. Let me move my blocks out of the way. Okay, so approximately a fist distance in between your knees and in between your feet behind also. Not that they'll be there for too much longer. Think tailbone down, pubic bone up before you move. And then I'm going to mirror you guys. If you take your right leg out to the side. So you want your toes and your knee, if you imagine a clock, almost like 10 o'clock for you guys, sorry, that will be 2 o'clock. So it's pointing in a 2 o'clock position. Allow your hip bones to turn to face towards me though. So your foot is out there. You're going to let your right hand come to the inside of your right knee. Your left hand comes to the front of your left foot. And then you're going to go to your end range. So lean forward without leaning the chest forward also. Think about leaning your hips forward. Inner thighs get quite an intense stretch. You want to feel like you're I can't go with my knee past my toe because I just don't have that range of motion. If you do, go there. Let your knee go past your toe, and then feel as if you're drawing your heel and your knee towards each other, and that's going to lift you out a little, and then continue to lift yourself all the way back up to your starting point. And then we're going to go again. You're going to go to your end range. Find about 80% of that end range so that you no longer have your knee past your toe. And that's going to be your end range from now on. We push ourselves back up. So we fall into it, we push back out. We fall into it, we push back out. The pushing back out happens from the inner thighs pulling towards each other, the pelvic floor muscles lifting up. I also, for me personally, I have to use my foot quite a lot. So I'm pushing down into my foot, especially my heel, and pushing downwards and forwards, and that helps me to come all the way back upright again. We're going to go for one more before we add on. Stay upright. You're going to reach your left arm out to the side. You're going to let that arm swing. As you let it swing, both of your shoulders, your breastbone and your hip bones are still facing towards the camera. We're going to go for one more before we add on. We're going to let our arm swing as we fall and press back out. It's not really a fall, it's a controlled fall. So we're letting that swing of the arm help us with that dynamic movement of swinging into the leg, feeling that stretch in the inner thighs. And then we're going to add on after the next one. We swing, we're going to take that left arm out to the side, press your right leg towards straight. It won't be all the way straight, towards straight, so that you're shifting your hips out to the right side, left side rather, shifting your ribs out to the left side. Find your side stretch. Wow, feels good. Hopefully it feels good for you too. And then we let that arm swing and we go into the side stretch. And we let the arm swing and we side stretch. And we've got one final one. Swing and side stretch. And then we let the arm come all the way down. You're going to take your knee in, take it back behind you so that you're back in your high kneeling position. I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see me, but you can stay as you are. So we're thinking tailbone down, pubic bone up. Enough that we feel a stretch, not so much that it feels like it's pulling on the knees. And then as you inhale, shift the pelvis back. As you exhale, you're going to curl the pubic bone towards you. Let the pelvis lead the way to come forward, and then you're elongating back up. And we do that again. Inhale as you shift back. Exhale, rounding the spine towards you and curling up. You've got one final one. Inhale, shift. Exhale, round. Coming all the way back upright. And then we've got the same to do on the other side. So I'm going to turn to face you. Let's take that left leg out to the side. Toes pointing towards 10 o'clock for you guys. Hip bones pointing forward. Curl that pubic bone up. The temptation will be for the knee to roll in. So I want you to really get that knee so that it's over the second toe. You'll feel the work on the outside of the glutes, you'll feel the stretch on the inner thigh, and that's really what the objective of this exercise is. Hand comes to the inside of the left knee, other hand comes to the front of your right hip. You're going to fall, find your end range where your knee goes past your toe, and then bring yourself out maybe about 10 or 20% by pulling the heel and the inner thigh towards each other, lifting the pelvic floor muscles up, and then draw yourself all the way up. That's going to be your end range from now on. So think about your end range being a little bit shorter than where you can actually go to. So I fall, I push myself back out. I fall, I press back up. I fall, I press back up. As I'm falling, my spine is not moving. I'm trying not to do this kind of movement with my spine. I'm staying upright. I'm trying to keep the back of my head, the back of my shoulders, and my pelvis all against an imaginary wall behind me as I go. We're going to go for one more before we add on. This is your one. That was actually two. I know I was cheating. And then we're going to take the left arm out to the side. Sorry, this would be your right arm. You're going to let your right arm swing. And swing. And swing. And it's just gravity. It's just drawing it down. This is not a muscular movement. You're just letting gravity do its thing. So there's no additional effort. It's just a little dynamic swing, and then we add that on to our movement. We go swing as you go forward, and swing and press up, and swing and press it up, and swing and press it up. We're going to, after two more, we're going to add in our side bend. Swing and up. On this one, we add in. We're going to reach the hips out to the right side. Sorry, and your ribs out to the right side. Let your shoulder draw down. You're bringing that arm up towards the ear, and then we swing, and we side bend, and we swing, and we side bend. Two more. Swing and side bend, and last one, and side bend. We bring our whole body upright. We're going to bring that knee in underneath. Bring it back behind you. Again, I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see a side profile of me. I'm thinking tailbone down, pubic bone up. I'm trying to make sure that my hips are over my knees rather than slightly behind them, so they're directly above. And then it's like a karate chop at your hips. You're letting that bum stick out. You're letting the crease at the front of the hips happen. And then you curl and round that spine to come forward. We do that two more times. Inhale to shift back. Exhale, round to come forward. Last one. Inhale, shift back. Exhale, forward. And then from towards the feet. Let's circle those legs around in front of us. You're going to come sitting up near the top of your mat. Let's have your socks or whatever it is that you're using in the middle of your mat at either side so that you can easily get to them in a little moment. The hands come behind the thighs. You're going to elongate that spine up tall. Think about shoulders relaxing, breastbone lifting up. We're going to take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, curl your pelvis under. Feel as if your sits bones are going towards your feet. And you're rolling back off your sits bones, as if your pubic bone is curling inside your belly almost. You're really trying to roll it in the way. You can hold on to the backs of the thighs for help, and then we're going to bring the head forward. As I'm coming forward, I'm still trying to round my pelvis back so that I get the deep abs working. And then when my shoulders are over my hips, I elongate from the lower back, middle back, upper back, all the way upright. We've got 2 more of those. As you exhale, round the spine, and then take that whole shape backwards. Inhale there, and as you exhale, you're going to draw yourself forward and elongate up. Let's go for one final one. As you exhale, round. Inhale at your bottom point. As you exhale, we're going to draw ourselves forward. And inhale to lengthen all the way back up. The next one is going to take you down onto the mat. So as you exhale, you're going to curl that pubic bone towards you. You're rounding back. We're trying to get our lower back, or the back and pelvis first onto the mat. And then the lower back, start to let this leg slide in towards you. You're going to take the lumbar spine, the middle part of your spine, eventually the lower back onto the mat. Eventually the head, neck and shoulders come down, and you can hug those knees in towards the chest. You're letting everything just completely relax for the moment. And then I'm going to place one foot back down onto the mat, the other one will join it. I'm going to scoot myself down a little bit because I'm right at the top edge of my mat. I didn't judge that very well, so I'm going to scoot down. Hands are down by the side of your body. Think about your ankles and your knees being about a fist distance apart. Make sure that your feet aren't so close to your bum that your knees feel like they're having to be really stretched. You want to walk your feet just a little bit forward so the hamstrings do have to work. We take a deep inhale. As you exhale, the lower back is going to flatten in towards the mat. And then you're going to start to pick your pelvis up off the mat, the lower part of the spine, the middle part of the spine, the upper part of the spine. I'm really pressing down into my feet as I lift my pelvis up. I'm trying to lift from the backs of my thighs. I'm going to take an inhale at my top point, and then as I exhale, I'm going to roll that spine back down, bone by bone, curling the pubic bone excuse me, towards me as I go down so that I feel length in the lower back. And then letting that pubic bone roll forward. We do that again. Inhale to repair. As you exhale, lower back is going to flatten in towards the mat. And then roll that spine up, bone by bone by bone. Collarbone staying nice and open. Inhale there. As you exhale, we're going to start to lengthen all the way back down. Trying to curl that pubic bone towards you so that you get lots of lower ab engagement and lots of stretch in the lower back. Releasing that pelvis out. Before you go on the next one, you're going to take those props into your hands. You're going to take an inhale. As you exhale, let that lower back flatten in towards the mat. We're going to pick the pelvis up, and we're going to place those 2 balls or the 2 pairs of socks side by side beside each other at your sacrum bone. So that's not quite your lower back. It's not quite your bum cheeks. It's somewhere, somebody was saying last week, in your bum dimples, so in the dimples at your lower back. That's round about where you're going to have those 2 balls. And then rest your pelvis on top of it, and your pelvis should be able to completely relax. So let it go. And I know there's a song that says that. So let it go like the song says. Let your glutes go, let everything just relax. And then from there, as you exhale, you're going to curl your pubic bone towards the breastbone, letting your pelvis round. It's almost like the 2 balls roll towards your feet, just like millimeters. And then you're going to let your pelvis roll in the opposite direction, so the pubic bone goes towards the feet. It's like your lower back feels like it's arching a little. And it's like the balls are being pressed gently towards your head millimeters. Exhale, curl. Inhale, let it roll in the opposite direction. And two more. Exhale, round. And inhale to release. And last one. Exhale, round. And inhale to release. And then we're going to come somewhere in between those two extremes. You're going to feel that your feet are firmly planted. So notice, do you feel just weight on the outside edge of your foot or the inside? Can you even that out? Each of the pads of your toes are going to feel grounded. And then a gentle sense of your right kneecap reaching forward just to make sure that it stays in line with your hip bone. You're going to let your left knee drop open to the side, letting yourself roll to the outside edge of your foot, only as far as you can go where your two hip bones remain level. And then as you exhale, you're going to draw it back in. And we're going to do that on the other side. Let me change my orientation to the camera so that you can see. Excuse me. So you're going to drop your right knee out to the side. I'll mirror you guys. The right knee opens out to the side, your pelvis stays level. And then as you exhale, you draw back in. And then the left knee drops open to the side. And exhale back in. Last one, right knee opens. Exhale, draw it all the way back in. When you're back in the center, we're going to allow the pelvis to curl towards us, lower back. It's like the lower back is dropping towards the ground, and then it's like you're arching the lower back away from the ground. And two more of those, please. Exhale, letting that lower back or the pelvis curl towards you. Inhale, letting it roll away. And last one. Exhale. Inhale, opposite direction. And then you're going to find somewhere in between those two extremes. Let's take an inhale here. This is a little bit that I'm just adding on now because it feels nice in my body. Let's take an inhale. We're going to exhale. Float one leg up into tabletop where your knee is above your hip and your shin is parallel with the ground. And then you're going to take a deep inhale. As you exhale, let your ribs soften down, let your pelvic floor muscles turn on. You're going to float your second leg up into tabletop. Knees and thighs come together, and then you're going to let those knees drop in towards your chest. So the balls roll towards your head a little bit more. You should feel that nice release in the lower back. And then we're going to take one foot all the way back down onto the mat. Take the other foot back down onto the mat. Once we've released, we have to strengthen. So we're going to allow the pelvis to curl towards us. Lift the pelvis up and away from the mat. Take those balls out and then roll the spine all the way back down onto the mat, completely releasing the pelvis out. Arms come down by the side of the body. Feel the backs of the tops of the arms gently opening towards the mat so your collarbones are open. We're going to take a deep inhale. As you exhale, let the lower back flatten in towards the mat. You're going to curl and roll that spine up, bone by bone by bone by bone. Pressing down equally into the inside and outside edge of the feet, making the whole foot work. And then as you exhale, we're going to roll that spine all the way back down, one vertebrae at a time, until eventually the pelvis releases and comes back into balanced neutral pelvis. We go one more time, adding on. Exhale, curl that pubic bone towards you, starting to roll up, bone by bone. Eventually, whenever you get to your top point, you're going to let the hips drop just a little, so lower them down. Open the knees away from each other just a little. Curl that pubic bone towards you a little bit more deeply, and then where your bum meets your leg, you're going to press up a little bit higher from there. Try not to lose that extra curl that you just found. And then we're going to squeeze those inner thighs in towards each other. Go narrower than you think you can. So you're going to come as if you're squeezing a tennis ball in there. You should feel the work of the inner thighs. You should feel the work of the hamstrings, of the glutes. You're going to take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, start to roll that spine all the way back down, bone by bone. until eventually the pelvis arrives onto the mat. You release, you come into neutral, and then one knee comes into the chest, the other knee comes into the chest. You're going to give yourself a little release, a little moment of relaxation. Aha. All right. From there, one foot comes onto the ground, the other one will join it. We're going to roll onto our sides, press ourselves into all fours, with the knees under the hip bones, the wrists under the shoulders, shoulders drawing down, back of the head is staying lifted, tailbone is sits bones are reaching out. Take an inhale as you exhale, go around that spine. We're going to shift the bum about halfway back towards the feet. Let the hands slide back towards the knees. You're going to roll your spine all the way up into a high leg position. Once the shoulders are over the hips, we're going to take one leg out in front of you. You can choose which one you want that to be. Back toes are going to curl under. I want you to get the sense of pressing down into your front foot, into your back foot, lifting up from the hamstring so that you can push yourself straight up. Try not to lean forward. Think about it being a push straight up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to pull that back leg forward, back into your standing position, and we'll turn to face towards you. We're going finishing the way that we started, so you're going to take an inhale. As you exhale, let's arc those arms up towards the ceiling, pressing down into the feet. Inhale, arms circle, reaching the arms out to the side, slowly lowering the heels back down. And we go for two more. Exhale, arm arc up. Inhale, arms circle, slowly lowering the heels, slowly lowering the arms. You've got one final one. Exhale, arm arc up. Inhale, arms circle. Heels lower, arms lower. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, allow the chin to nod in the direction of your chest. Pubic bone lifting up, tailbone dropping down gently. It's like you're trying to get your sits bones towards the backs of your knees, so that pelvis remains upright as you roll down and forward. Let the head completely relax. Let the arms completely relax. But the pelvic floor muscles are fully engaged. Inhale at your bottom point, wherever that is for you. And then as you exhale, draw up deeply from the lower abdominals. Feel then that the back extensors, the back muscles are turning on to continue to roll yourself into an upright position, where eventually the shoulders arrive, then the head arrives, and you guys are done for today. Thanks very much for joining me. I hope that's useful for you at home. Of course, if you've got any questions, you can let us know.